Good afternoon, and welcome to the Elmhurst League of Women Voters Candidate Forum. I'm Laura Kratz, President of the League and the moderator for today. Today we're going to be discussing issues in the run-up to the consolidated municipal elections that would be held on April 5th, 2011. You will hear from candidates running for Elmhurst Park Board, City Alderman, and Community Unit School District 205 Board of Education. Helping voters be well informed on the issues is what the League of Women Voters is all about, and we've been part of the Elmhurst community since 1932. Throughout the years, the Elmhurst League has provided in-depth, accurate, nonpartisan information to our citizens. As we continue that tradition with this candidate forum, please be sure to visit our website where an expanded voter's guide to the election will soon be posted. The forum will also be streamed on our website, which is www.lwvelmhurst.org. You can see there what else we have to offer. You can also watch a rebroadcast of this forum on Government Access Channel 6 beginning in March. So before we begin, I really want to thank the candidates, our volunteers, and the City of Elmhurst for helping make this forum possible. Okay. The first segment of our program today will be statements of introduction from three candidates who do not have opponents present at the forum today. League rules clearly state that there must be at least two candidates present to participate in the question and answer sessions. However, we believe it's important for the public to be acquainted with as many candidates as possible, and these three have graciously agreed to come today to introduce themselves to you. We will begin with candidate for the Elmhurst Park District. There are two candidates running for two open seats. The term of office is 6 years. At this time, I'd like to invite Mary Keyes to come forward and introduce yourself. Mary?
I'm a little taller. Thank you, Madam President. I would like to thank the city for hosting in the city chambers. I've got laryngitis, so I sound kind of funny. I'm going to go it anyways. For the past 5 years, the Elmhurst Park District has been recognized as one of the top park and recreation facilities in the nation. I am very proud of the advancements, improvements, and changes that the Elmhurst Park District continues to provide. The Elmhurst Park District was honored with the Governmental Financial Officers Award 2 years in a row. Our agency's healthy financial position keeps the costs down, yet provides exceptional opportunities for all residents, all ages, all interests, and all capabilities. I am proud of the good relationships with the City of Elmhurst, with the District 205, with Elmhurst College, which saves taxpayers money and resources. Saving Wilder Park, an historic icon from the Wrecking Ball, was a labor of love, but it was supported by many, many residents. The renovation of Wilder Mansion has been a huge financial success for the district. We book way in advance weddings, anniversaries, community meetings, and family gatherings. What a gem of a resource, yet preserving a building that was a considerable importance of our past and for our future. I am proud of East End Pool, with 0 depth, 8 swimming lanes, and a diving well. Proud of the new skateboard park, Smalley Pool, and playground at York Commons Park. And this is providing recreation for our ever-growing young families. The fall 2008 edition of 2 lighted artificial ball fields.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm fine. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Okay, next we have two candidates for aldermanic races. The city is divided into 7 wards with 2 aldermen from each ward. For this section, candidates are vying for 1 seat in each ward. The term of office is 4 years. Our first candidate, who does not have an opponent present here, is Scott Levin. Scott?
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. My family's been in Elmhurst for 14 years. My daughter Julia is a freshman at York, and my son Joseph is a 7th grader at Sandburg. Some of you may recall this is not my first attempt at elective office. I ran unsuccessfully for mayor in 2009 on a platform based on qualifications and experience. And to this office, I bring nearly 10 years of state government experience in the legislative and executive branches, having been the deputy executive director of our state criminal justice authority. I also have 25 years' experience as a litigator and business practice attorney and experience as owner of a small business. In addition to a business degree, I have a master's in public administration and 2 law degrees. I've been active in many organizations in town. I've been most recently the chairman of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce. In 2009, Mayor DeCiani was thoughtful enough to appoint me as co-chair of his finance task force, which finished its work in October 2009. Subsequently, in December 2010, he appointed me to the vacant 5th Ward aldermanic seat, so it's not so bad losing an election to Mayor DeCiani. I'm here unopposed, but I wanted to be here to introduce myself and to let the people, the voters in the 5th Ward, know that I'm working for them right now. We have weathered the storm, or we've weathered the recession better than most communities, but we have some difficult financial times ahead of us. And I hope to use my experience to help solve those financial problems as we move forward. We have a flood problem to solve. I'm hopeful that we have a well-thought plan and that we keep in mind the amount of money that it's going to cost to do that. We need to attract business and retain business, particularly those that are going to contribute to our sales tax revenue. I look forward to working with all the members of the 5th Ward, and I appreciate the opportunity to have spoken with you today. Thank you.
And now we have Mark Mulliner of the 7th Ward.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming this afternoon, and thank you those who are watching this on television. I appreciate everybody's time to take you time to look at this, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for their effort to put this together. It's always a wonderful thing. I'm Mark Mulliner. I've been the alderman in the 7th Ward for a number of years. I continue to want to serve this community as I have in the past. We have a number of issues that are in front of us and that we need to continue to address. We have budgetary issues that we have to address. We need to figure out how the best way to continue to balance our revenue with our expenditures and to provide those core services necessary. We've been doing a fairly effective job at this point, and we need to continue that process. Some of the methods that we're using is one of the things that we've created in the last few years is an intergovernmental policy board, which is basically 2 aldermen, 2 people from the parks, 2 people from the city council meeting to discuss issues to help the administration to make their determination on what things we can do together and work together on. The administration's been doing a great job on that. We need to continue that process. We need to look at things in the 7th Ward, such as the flooding issue that's occurred. It affected a lot of the city. We've pushed very hard, a number of aldermen, to create a comprehensive flood mitigation study, which is in the process of moving forward now. That flood mitigation study is going to show that we're going to have to work more together as intergovernmental agencies. We also have a power issue in the 7th Ward, which everybody is well aware of. During the last city council meeting, I requested that we needed to have some assistance from the state of Illinois. We are no longer in a position where we're able to get Commonwealth Edison to respond to us. So we're at the point now where we need some help. So we've asked Commonwealth Edison to step in. Lastly, I'd like to state that I was born and raised in this community. I came back here. I want that to be the same type of community that everyone else can do. I believe that everyone has skin in this game, and this is Elmhurst, and it's for us. Thank you.
You may applaud. And again, we thank the 3 of you for coming out today. We really do appreciate it. Okay, now we're ready to move on to the question and answer sessions, and we will be covering wards 1, 3, 4, and 6. We're going to start out with opening statements from each of the candidates and then proceed to questions that have been given to them in advance and have been written by the League. After that, I'm going to ask the questions that were written by the audience members and turned into us today. We'll finally end with candidates' closing statements. As I said, each candidate has an equal opportunity to speak, and I will call on candidates in varying order as we proceed. So, each candidate has 2 minutes for an opening statement. We will begin with the First Ward and Diane Gutenkopf, followed by John Ranieri. Diane?
Thank you. I came to Elmhurst 20 years ago as a city employee, and I moved here 2 years later. I share a 1920s bungalow with my husband Michael, my 3 stepsons, 2 dogs, and a cat. It's been my pleasure to serve as First Ward Alderman for the past 4 years. And the First Ward is quite diverse. It includes much of the Central Business District, Elmhurst College, Wilder Park, schools, and of course, residents, the primary focus of my work. I believe the constituents I serve deserve regular, ongoing communication from me about Elmhurst issues that affect them. I held my first ward-wide town hall meeting in 2008, and I've hosted one every year since. Through regular emails, newsletters, and monthly coffees, First Ward residents are kept apprised of city activities and have consistent access to me as their elected representative. I've used the monthly coffee and conversation meetings to highlight First Ward businesses. In the past 4 years, we've seen periods of growth and times that were difficult. Through it all, I've worked with residents on many issues, including safety, such as coordinating the Union Pacific Railroad regarding sidewalks and stop signs, the Safe Routes to School program, dealing with empty and abandoned properties, and of course, traffic and parking concerns. My work history as the director in a major Chicagoland nonprofit business brings a strong sense of fiscal responsibility to the table. Nonprofits are proficient at doing more with less, important skills Elmhurst needs as we focus on budgeting in our tough economy. I'm the candidate with the experience we need, and I ask for your vote on April 5th. Thank you.
John Ranieri.
Good afternoon. Give you a little background of where I come from. Born in Chicago, was raised in the western suburbs for most of my life. I've spent the last 14 years here in Elmhurst. I'm married with 2 children, ages 10 and 7. They attend Emmanuel Lutheran right next door here. I have immediate family in Elmhurst as well. A brother and his family live in Elmhurst as well. I attended Montini High School in Lombard and graduated from there. Also attended St. Mary's College, St. Mary's University in Winona, Minnesota, and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice. So if this doesn't work out, I may be able to move over to the police department and see if I can get a job there. Right now, I'm Director of Sales for a logistics and shipping company in Lombard. And like Diane mentioned, the First Ward is a very diverse ward. It mirrors, obviously, Elmhurst itself. There's large business districts, for example, at Route 83 in St. Charles. Obviously, the residents. We have museums and the downtown business district as well. Schools, Elmhurst College. So it has a very large plate of concerns, and each one with their own. So I want to make sure that we represent, the alderman represents all of those concerns. Obviously, the first and foremost is residents, but the businesses and museums and schools need to be represented as well. So my main message I want to put across is I'm going to bring a common sense approach to aldermen and to this job, and I expect all the other aldermen will do the same thing. I think we need to have open-minded discussions. Everyone needs to come with an open mind. Doesn't mean we're always going to agree, but we need to come with an open mind and see what we can do, what is best for the residents and the city of Elmhurst. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to Ward 3 and Paul McLafferty.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. My name is Paul McLafferty. I'm a proud husband and father of 2 young children that attend Button and Bowes in Elmhurst here. My family has lived in the heart of the 3rd Ward for the past 11 years. I'm an operations manager for a company called Inland Sales Group, which does sales and marketing for a select group of plumbing manufacturers. I graduated from Northern Illinois University with a BA in corporate communications, and I also have a CPMR certification from Arizona State University. I enjoy being active in my industry, which I worked in for the past 15 years, and I also like being involved in the city of Elmhurst. I volunteered for the Elmhurst Financial Task Force and found this experience very interesting and it gave me the opportunity to work with the individuals that guide this great city we live in. That experience, along with the encouragement of friends and neighbors, has led me to run for the alderman of the 3rd Ward. Thank you.
And now Danny Polomsky.
Hello, I'm a candidate for the 3rd Ward, and I'm looking forward to serving our community. My husband and I like to say that we lucked out when we arrived here from Chicago 7 years ago. I didn't know much about this community, even though I grew up just 20 minutes away. But now I'm certain we chose the ideal community in which to raise our 3 boys. I want to ensure Elmhurst is the best environment for them as we watch them grow. I have actively learned about our community. A member of Cool Cities Coalition since its first year, I have helped organize Green Fests and the Recycling Boutique. I am the editor of the Elmhurst League of Women Voters newsletter. I've registered residents to vote at our library, and I've served as the observer for another group of elected officials, Elmhurst Park Board. I am also involved in field school. Professionally, I've been the manager of the Disability Services Department at Northwestern University. Some responsibilities included overseeing a budget, advocating for students' needs, negotiating and partnering with other administrators and faculty, and implementing and initiating programs. I am proud of the policies I have written that have improved service delivery and significantly saved money. I published a book about how disability law applies to graduate and professional education. I continue to write a column, but consider myself a stay-at-home parent. If elected, I will draw on my skills and experience to first continue the restoration of Elmhurst financial health. I will advocate for the needs of 3rd Ward residents and for equitable redevelopment of retail districts. I will facilitate improvements in our infrastructure and build upon the programs that focus on the safety and well-being of our residents. I plan to see Elmhurst make my children proud as they reflect on it as adults.
Okay, now we'll move on to the 4th Ward, where we have 3 candidates. The first one speaking will be Mark Engelwitz.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and all of those who were involved in putting together this forum today. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to go out and speak to all of you and to the residents of Ward 4. The City of Elmhurst has changed over the last 4 years. 4 years ago, Elmhurst had a $3.75 million budget surplus. Last year, the city ran a $1.5 million budget deficit. Over the past 4 years, the City of Elmhurst's combined fund balance has been depleted by more than $4.4 million, or 10.6%, to its lowest point in years. According to the city's certified accounting financial reports, the Elmhurst ran a budget deficit both in 2009 and 10, both of years which my opponent voted for property tax increases. Some blame Elmhurst's financial crisis on the recession or the loss of key sales tax revenue bases. But since 2006, the government spending has risen by nearly 25%, while revenues have only increased a mere 3.4%. I've spoken to many Ward 4 residents, and they have all said the same thing. They want a change. They want an alderman who is experienced with and understands local government, someone who is qualified and experienced in public policy development, experienced in public budgeting and finance, and who has the right temperament and decision-making qualities to represent them in City Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I am that candidate. As Ward 4 Alderman, I will responsibly and respectfully fulfill the obligations of my position. I will make myself available to residents and will listen and respond to the best of my ability every day. I will bring to City Council my public sector and business ownership experience and a formal education in public governing. I'm honest, innovative, and hardworking. I want to be Ward 4's next alderman, and I humbly ask for your support on April 5th.
And the 4th Ward continues to my left with Darlene Heslop.
I'm Darlene Heslop, candidate for alderman serving the 4th Ward. My primary goal will be to ensure that your homes, your biggest and most important asset, increase in value. I am committed to making certain that your hard-earned tax dollars are spent carefully and wisely, treating every penny as if it was my own, while making certain that we as a city are operating as leanly and efficiently as possible. I know you are tapped out. Budgets are already stretched to their limits, and you have faced tax increases on top of tax increases. It's time to concentrate on our needs rather than our wants. It's time we change how we do things in order to have a better way of managing our revenues and expenditures. I believe in a diverse, independent thinking city council reflecting the demographics of our community. All who reside in this city are stakeholders and are vested in their own personal way. Regardless of a citizen's age, income, family dynamics, or housing arrangement, I will be an advocate for all in City Hall. In the 4th Ward, we have infrastructure that is in need of some major overhauling, and I will see to it that this time it gets the attention that it needs. We cannot have our neighbors sustaining thousands of dollars in damage every time we have rain or an early thaw. Many challenges face our city and our ward. My commitment is to provide independent representation with a high level of responsiveness to all residents. I will be dependable by returning all telephone calls and emails regardless of who the citizens are or where they live. I will work to promote an atmosphere on the City Council based upon open, honest debate and transparent government, as this is the cornerstone of our democracy. I will put the needs and desires of the citizens first by making decisions based upon constituent input and concrete facts. Thank you.
And the last candidate for the 4th Ward is Steve Hipskind.
Hello. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. I'd also like to thank the past aldermen who have served this city for the last 100 years and have given us the foundation of this great city and the example of citizenship and the pillars of the community that we rely on. A little bit about me. I've lived in town for 15 years. I'm married. I have 6 children. I have a sophomore in high school. I have an 8th grader. I have a 6th grader, I have a 4th grader, I have a kindergartner, and finally I have a girl who's 2 years old that is a joy to see every day. And I'm married to a wonderful woman who's in the audience here today, and I'm smiling at her right now. I've been the alderman for 6 years, and that number actually doesn't translate too well, so let me give you a little history why I was the alderman, why it's 6 years. Mayor Marcucci 6 years ago appointed me appointed me alderman for the 4th Ward and asked me to serve on the Finance Committee. He knew, I didn't know him real well, but he knew of my past finance experience, which I've had, and so he asked me to serve on the for the Finance Committee, and I did so. In the last 6 years, I've been I served on the Finance Committee, then I was the Vice Chair, and now I'm the Chairman of the Finance Committee. I've had a lot of time and worked on a lot of different issues for the city. We've worked with seniors on senior housing. We've worked with, we've put in stop signs on the safety routes for the school. It's really been a pleasure working for the city. I look forward to April 5th, and I look forward to your support. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on then to the 6th Ward and Rachel Kern.
Hi, my name is Rachel Kern, and I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and all of you here for putting on this event. I'm running for alderman of the 6th Ward of Elmhurst. I'm a graduate of the University of Dallas, also known as the University of Independent Thinkers. I have a major in history and a minor in international studies. As a lifelong resident and 3rd generation of Elmhurst, I am running because through my work as legislative aide with Senator John Milner, I see that sound policy, not politics, need to dictate the direction of this city. I feel I have a responsibility to stand up and make city government work for the people, not the other way around. First and foremost, I am running to restore accountability to this office. Part of this is just being available to you. And you will have my phone number and email address, and I encourage you to get a hold of me anytime, day or night. The other component is being your voice in the City Council. Everything the City Council does, they do with your money, and you have the right to have someone who values every dime the city is entrusted with, and someone who makes sure that you get the best services at the lowest cost. This includes everything from dealing with the sewers to prevent future flooding in a timely and efficient manner. This also means dealing with the skunks and other animal control problems we've been having in the 6th Ward. I will work with the City Council and staff to be more fiscally responsible, finding creative ways to deliver services without raising taxes. Thank you, and I look forward to your support on April 5th.
And finally, from the 6th Ward, Steve Morley.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would first like to thank the League for hosting this forum. I'd like to thank city staff for allowing us to use City Hall on a weekend. And finally, I'd like to thank the Elmhurst residents in the audience and watching on TV. I think it is the involvement of the citizens of Elmhurst that is one of the things that makes Elmhurst a great place. My name is Steve Morley, and I'm the 6th Ward Alderman running for re-election. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve the residents of the 6th Ward and the citizens of Elmhurst for the past 4 years. Currently, I am chairman of the DP&Z Committee. I also sit on the Elmhurst Economic Development Commission. In addition, I served on the Finance Committee for 2 years. I also spent 2 years on the Retail Grant Committee, whose sole purpose is to promote small business in downtown Elmhurst. I am committed to keeping Elmhurst a great place to live. There are several ways we can do that. One is to continue to promote responsible growth. Good examples, are the new hospital that's being put up at the south end of town and the new parking deck recently put up on First Street. We also need to continue to deliver superior city services. The citizens of Elmhurst pay for these services, and they expect a lot. I can think of no better example of this than the performance of city staff during the recent blizzard. To have all streets accessible within 24 hours, I think, was an incredible job, and my hat is off to them. Finally, I think we need to address some of the infrastructure issues that we have in town. Certainly flooding throughout the town, and on the south end of town, part of the 6th Ward, would be the power issues that we experience with ComEd. In conclusion, I will work hard for the citizens of Elmhurst and the residents of the 6th Ward. I am asking for your vote on April 5th, and I thank you.
Okay, now that we know a little bit about the candidates, let's see what they think about the issues. We have 5 questions that the League of Women Voters prepared in advance and sent to the candidates some time ago. And so they had a chance to think about them and prepare their responses. For this section, we're going to mix it up a little, and I'm going to start this question, the first question, with Ward 4. And Darlene, you're going to be first. So, I'll read the question, though, before we start, so everybody knows what it is. What is your vision for the future of the city of Elmhurst in 20 years? What specific action will you take to realize this goal?
I would first solicit input from residents by asking this exact question because I believe it is not my vision, but our vision that needs to be realized. I envision Elmhurst as consistently ranking in the top 10 as one of the most desirable places to live in the United States. In keeping with our pledge to reduce our carbon footprint, I imagine the increased use of electric transportation. In order to recharge our cars, we would need stations which might operate in a similar fashion to parking meters. This could be a potential source of revenue for the city. Recognizing the need for more green space as well as an expansion of our library, I foresee the relocation of the post office. The Elmhurst Hospital Berteau campus will continue playing an integral part in the 4th Ward, in particular, emphasizing services unique to seniors. Our children will be regarded as being the best and the brightest and will exceed standards to the point that Elmhurst will be known as the city where geniuses are raised.
Okay, next up will be Steve Hipskin.
I find this question very relevant every day of my life. When I wake up in the morning, when I go throughout my day, when I come home from work, I see my 6 children growing up and becoming more and more integrated in the Elmhurst way of life and the traditions which have helped evolve this town into what it is today. One of my goals is to continue these great traditions. I would like to see Elmhurst a place where my 6 kids want to raise their families. Over the next 20 years, I will continue to do my part in a variety of roles, from public service to volunteer, to help preserve the wonderful values of Elmhurst, which keeps the families coming back for generations. In my role as a chairman of the Finance Committee, I will continue to make fiscally sound decisions and ensure the financial stability of the future of Elmhurst. I will not mortgage Elmhurst's future to pay for services today.
And Mark Engelwitz.
Thank you. I visualize Elmhurst in 20 years being similar to how it is today. A quaint downtown, good schools, and a great place to raise a family. Yet I visualize a future of Elmhurst that would be home to a greater number of mid and large-sized businesses as a result of an aggressive economic development initiative, which highlights many of the many benefits of doing business in Elmhurst. I visualize a more diversified and thriving city center, and this will be achieved by being more selective in granting of business licenses, a policy which will support existing businesses by eliminating the threat of oversaturation of one type of business and allow existing businesses and new businesses a chance to succeed. I visualize Elmhurst as a destination for out-of-town clientele due to our city's centralized proximity to both O'Hare and Midway airports and a quaint yet exclusive retail and restaurant choices. Increased hotel tax revenues to the city will be very beneficial, as well as increased revenue to local business such as restaurants. So that is really my vision. So.
Okay, we'll move on then to the 6th Ward and Steve Morley.
Thank you. 20 years from now, when my kids are in their 30s, I want Elmhurst to be a city where my kids and grandkids will want to live and raise a family. I think if you're going to plan the future of Elmhurst, it is important to keep an eye on the past. I was born and raised in Elmhurst. I live and work in Elmhurst. From the time I was a little boy, I thought Elmhurst was a great place to live. There was a department store called Corvette's on the corner of 83 and St. Charles. Soukup's Hardware was downtown, and the York Restaurant as well. These businesses no longer exist. We have new businesses, Portillo's and Kohl's. We have a new hospital being built at the south end of town and a thriving downtown. We still have Leonard's, York Theater, and Al's Hobby Shop. We need a balance in town of history and growth. Specifically, to achieve this future, we need to continue controlled, responsible development while maintaining our history. Thank you.
And Rachel Kern.
We are at a turning point at our city, and tough choices need to be made. Elmhurst is a great place to work, live, and raise a family. We need to work together so our decisions will allow us to move forward and not leave the better days behind us. Our strongest asset as a city are the people of Elmhurst, and my generation is the future of Elmhurst. You have made Elmhurst the strong community that it is today. In 20 years, I see Elmhurst as an example for the rest of DuPage County and Northern Illinois. I see a city with world-class infrastructure, a friendly environment for businesses, and an ideal community to raise a family. We are going to get there because when times were tough, the people of Elmhurst were tougher and realized that they could not tax and spend their way to prosperity. Specifically, in order to get there, we are going to need a responsible and responsive government. As alderman, I will go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb and eliminate all wasteful spending. I will vote against any unbalanced budget or tax increase.
Okay, then we'll move over to the other side, and Ward 3, starting with Danny Polomsky.
In order to develop the specific objectives to realize the broad goal of seeing Elmhurst as the best community for our families and one that makes all citizens proud, we first need to more fully assess and understand our current identity, strengths, needs, and assets. I propose we broaden the scope of the next citizen survey and the data collected for the comprehensive plan so we more clearly define Elmhurst's identity. We should better know and document residents' interests and their reasons for leaving town to eat, shop, and for entertainment. We also should know how Elmhurst residents ideally envision our community in the future. Taking this information and looking carefully at the goals of all involved constituents, such as Economic Development Commission and various committees, we can better align efforts and pool resources that seek to meet the same goals. From there, we can begin to construct a 20-year roadmap. It should be written in the context of values that guide our community, such as those held by Cool Cities Commission and Coalition and character counts. It also would be developed using best practices in financial management. Thank you.
And now we move on to Paul McLafferty.
My view is that there has never been a more important time to focus on decisions that are being made today that will affect Elmhurst in 20 years. In today's economy, it is critical that elected officials ultimately do what's right for the city of Elmhurst. I would take this opportunity to reinvent the north side of Elmhurst, north of North Avenue, and focusing on north of 290. I would work to bring new industry to the north side of Elmhurst. I would encourage redevelopments and embrace the changes that are happening with O'Hare Airport. This would be my vision to make Elmhurst a stronger city 20 years from now.
And then back to the 1st Ward and John Ranieri.
My vision for the next 20 years, I really think that may seem a long way off, but the work starts now. As a family man, obviously we all want the same values and principles and reasons we're raising families in Elmhurst, and I want to continue that. You want a safe environment to raise your children. Education, obviously, is an important part of that. But I think business growth is important, sustainable and incremental business growth, not just a quick fix. I would look to personally get involved in trying to recruit business, research what businesses would fit into the mix here in Elmhurst. So I would really like to get involved in that on a committee if possible. The main question I want to ask in any decisions here is, does it enhance the qualities that we all find important here in Elmhurst, and do the decisions we make enhance those? So I'm going to continue to follow that, obviously in a fiscally responsible way, but that's my main platform there. Thank you.
And also from the First Ward, Diane Gutenkoff.
The Elmhurst of 2031 will be a great place to live. It'll be a community that results from wise development choices that we make today. Our city government will be responsive to residents and reflective of their priorities and needs, while strategically aligning public policy and investments. We will be a livable community created by a partnership between elected officials, residents, and developers, and based on a shared sense of community and quality of life. But to get here, we will have to work hard to balance our budget and be open to new and innovative ideas. I will ensure that we have the resources we need to realize this vision. Thank you.
Okay. Our next question, we will begin with Ward 3 and Paul McLafferty. And the question is, what outside resources will you draw from to stay current with state and federal legislation and regulations that pertain to your office?
In today's world, information is at your fingertips. I'm comfortable using all available resources that would aid me in staying current with legislation and regulations. I would also reach out to the 4 Elmhurst residents that represent the state of Illinois, 2 state senators and 2 state representatives, and also use the contacts that I've made with the Financial Task Force to stay current with all legislation and regulations.
Danny Polomsky.
The City of Elmhurst website provides detailed information on the issues examined by the Council as a whole, as well as commissions and committees. If elected, I look forward to also reading the Illinois Municipal League Bulletin. Illinois statutes and Illinois legislative service updates are easily accessible on Westlaw and in our public library. In order to write my column for disability compliance for higher education, I read and research the Federal Register, Office of Civil Rights letters, and also case law. I must stay current with legislation, understand how it applies to everyday decision-making, and use practical explanations to offer advice. My next article to be published in March speaks to using judgment when the information gathered to make a decision isn't fully supportive. I hope to use the same skills, if elected, to gather information. Thank you.
And then we'll move on to Ward 4 and Steve Hipskind.
Elmhurst is very lucky to have such a great history of public servants. We have decades of experience which to draw from. I find this experience to give me and Elmhurst a great advantage. Not only do we have access through our state and local legislators through traditional avenues, but we also see them locally at ball games, at social events, at community activities. This allows me and Elmhurst more time to understand the issues and work on them. Elmhurst has also been involved in the DuPage mayors and managers. This keeps me very well informed on both state and federal issues. I will continue to stay active and informed and use all my resources to keep Elmhurst on the forefront of the issues.
Ward 4, Mark Engelwitz.
To stay up to date with the current state and federal legislation, I'm going to pretty much rely on what I've always relied on, and that's newspapers, internet, and television. I subscribe to receive daily news updates from both the Washington Post and also Illinois.Statehouse News online. Additionally, if elected, I would obviously maintain a relationship and keep up to date with all of the other various media sources that would be available to us as an alderman. So I plan to keep very much up to date.
All right, Ward 4, Darlene Heslop.
The League of Women Voters has always been a vital source of information regarding issues that would pertain to a city official. As a League member, I am updated on legislation pending at both the local and federal level. I read at least one newspaper daily, cover to cover, read Crane Chicago Business every week, and watch local and national news programs on a regular basis. I also stay current with what our other elected officials are doing via their websites and correspondences. I also utilize the Illinois General Assembly website, which allows for research on legislation in Springfield.
Okay. And we'll move over then to Ward 1. And Diane Gudenkauf.
Thank you. I have a working relationship with DuPage County board members and state legislators, and I have met in Washington with Senators Durbin and Kirk and Congressman Roscom. I'm on their mailing list, and I receive frequent updates on activities in Springfield and Washington that impact our work on the local level. Like everyone else, I regularly consult publications and web resources from the Illinois Municipal League and the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. I even participated in the development of the CMAP Go to 2040 Comprehensive Regional Plan. I'm a member of the Chicago Suburban Alliance, an organization with over 150 members serving nearly 40 communities from as far north as Lake Forest through Elmhurst to Joliet. I stay current on issues that impact local businesses by reading a variety of publications from many sources, including Crane Chicago Business and the United States Chamber of Commerce publications. Thank you.
Ward 1, John Ranieri.
I believe one of the first places I would go would be right in this building here. I think we have a number of staff through the aldermen and the staff that are working in here that have years of knowledge that I would want to tap into. Being a new alderman, I have no problem asking questions or stating that I may not know something. So I would first, this would be one of the resources I would use. The other one, Steve had mentioned the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. Elmhurst belongs to that. That is a coalition of municipalities in the area, about 1 million members, that basically set legislative agenda for this area. They have 1 million members strong, so they're able to make you aware of any upcoming types of potential laws that may affect the city that would keep us aware. And obviously, I would then also contact and keep in touch with our local representatives and, as everyone else mentioned, online resources.
And we'll swing back to the other side, Ward 6, and Rachel Kern.
I currently work as a legislative aide for State Senator and former Elmhurst Police Chief John Milner. I see the importance of working with every form and level of government, and I have experience in constituent outreach, and I will work to communicate with Representatives Nybo and Rebeletti, Senator Sandek, DuPage County Board Chairman Dan Cronin, and other board members, as well as Congressman Peter Roscom and State Senator and federal Senators Durbin and Mark Kirk. I am up to date on all state and federal issues by my job working with John Milner. A great website to use to keep up to date with Illinois government is Capitol Facts, and I'm going to make sure that the Elmhurst residents' views are heard.
And Ward 6, Steve Morley.
Thank you. The good news is that with email and the internet, the information we need to stay current is at our fingertips. What's equally important is where we look. Our number one resource is people, specifically the award-winning members of our city staff. Each department, police, fire, finance, development, public works, to name a few, each of these departments is members of various organizations, over a dozen, specifically organizations on a county, state, and national level that are developed solely to monitor legislation that could affect our cities. We are members of DuPage Mayors and Managers, and I have attended on the city's behalf the Springfield trip. We also need to tap into our local citizens. Former aldermen Nybo and Rebeletti are both state representatives that live here in town. In addition, we have a former state senator who is currently a county board chair, and other various county board members who live in town. This is where I will continue to look for this important information.
Our third question moves on to the budget. And our first ward to answer this one will be Ward 4, starting with Mark Engelwitz. The question reads, the property tax levy was raised twice in 2 years, in November 2009 and November 2010. With that in mind, what are your budgetary priorities?
Well, my first priority for the city is to reduce its expenditures. As I said in my opening statements, the city expenditures have risen nearly 25% since 2006. That compared to a 3.4% increase in revenues. And the city has run budget deficits for the last two years. This type of spending is not sustainable, and although city officials have made operational cuts and freezes on spending, it hasn't been enough. We need to reduce capital spending by doing a better job determining what may or may not be essential. It may be prudent to patch rather than repair. The second priority is to have a plan to deal with the eventual budget surplus brought on by the economic recovery and tax revenues outpacing expenditures. City officials need to make intelligent decisions on how to use the funds. I recommend reestablishing a rainy day fund, make accelerated debt service payments, or invest in efficiencies that will reduce expenditures. In short, use our revenue surplus to lower expenditures.
Ward 4, Darlene Heslop.
Number 1 is to change the way we do things. The current process of determining a tax levy amount first and then a spending budget is counterintuitive and unproductive. Instead, we should begin by determining exactly how much we need to run the city by initially completing the expenditure part of the budget process. After completion of this first step, we can then calculate the appropriate levy and assess the taxpayers for only that amount. Number 2 is to decide what we absolutely need and to budget accordingly. Let's emphasize the needs and realize that the wants may have to wait. Our residents are tapped out in this current economy. We should work hard to avoid further tax increases, especially in light of what has recently occurred with the state and other taxing bodies. Number 3 is we need to take care of business. We need to emphasize keeping our current businesses viable in Elmhurst as well as to attract new ventures. Active promotion of business growth and development will increase our tax base. Thank you.
Ward 4, Steve Hipskind.
The question reads, why has the tax levy increased in the past 2 years? Actually, the tax levy has increased 25 times in the past 30 years. The levy is one part of the overall budget. As chairman of the Finance Committee, it is my job to look at the entire budget, both revenues and expenditures, and balance them accordingly. As we look at the increases, we must also look at the efficiencies that Elmhurst has gained. In DuPage County, we are one of the lowest tax rates, and as we compare ourselves to the entire region, once again, we find ourselves in one of the lowest tax rates. My priorities for Elmhurst are to keep taxes low and services high and preserve the values of your home. We have achieved this goal for many years. Elmhurst is a thriving town. When the economy is expanding, Elmhurst goes up faster. When the economy is contracting, Elmhurst decreases slower than others. We're fortunate to live in such a great town, and I look forward to continue to serve the people of this town.
We'll move on then to Ward 1 and John Ranieri.
I think one of the first things we need to do is identify the factors that have got us to this point. We need to look at past budget issues. I think Ms. Hipskind mentioned 25 raises over the past 27 years. We need to look at why that's occurring. I think the key thing we need to look at is a long-term plan, not just a short-term plan. Where are we going to be in 15, 20 years from now? If we do not plan for the future, if we just plan for this year or next, we're going to continue to get into the same situation. There was an example mentioned in the last City Council regarding staffing levels in the snow removal, and that a thank you was put out to all the council members regarding, thank God we did not reduce staffing levels. If the snow removal would have been a real issue with water main breaks. I think we need to look at the staffing levels and look down the road. I would love to keep staffing levels the way they are. I have no problem with that. I don't want to lose any first responders or anything that's going to increase issues with. Sorry.
Okay. Ward 1, Diane Gutenkopf.
Thank you. My first priority is to rebuild the working cash fund, which currently has a balance of approximately $30,000. In order to balance the city budget, we've borrowed from this fund for the past 2 years. The fund is intended for use in emergencies, which are defined in our policy as events that are unbudgeted and unanticipated. It's intended as a last recourse funding source. City policy provides that all the money we borrow must be repaid according to a defined plan. Currently, the general fund owes the working cash fund $950,000, leaving us in a precarious position when we experience weather events like the February 2nd snowstorm. As of last week, we've expended our entire budget for this year's snow removal and then some. Defining our plan to rebuild this fund is critical because the working cash fund gives the city flexibility in economically sensitive times, and its presence favorably affects our bond rating.
And we'll move on to Ward 6 and Steve Morley.
Thank you. The top 3 priorities pertaining to our budget are, number 1, as funny as it may sound, we need to continue to pay our bills. so we don't end up like the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois is very good at issuing unfunded mandates to our municipality. They tell us every year how much we need to put into our pension funds, yet they don't give us the money to fund our pension funds. We have to do that internally. That's one of the things that we do in addition to paying our city employees a fair wage. This is something that we must do, yet we must address. We need to maximize every dollar that we collect and translate that into quality of life and superior services. We do that by reviewing personnel on an ongoing basis and maximizing the equipment we have, replacing only what we need and identifying efficiencies when we can. That includes equipment and employees. Finally, we cannot discuss budget without discussing revenue. Make every effort to increase our tax base to avoid raising taxes and lessen the burden on all Elmhurst homeowners. To do this, we need controlled growth and development. Thank you.
Ward 6, Rachel Kern.
Constituents need to be at the forefront of every decision. The continuing trend of taxes going up while services are going down should no longer be tolerated. As alderman, I will not vote for any tax increase or unbalanced budget. I will look into pending city contracts. One example I found is the pending garbage contract. It appears to have room for a lot of renegotiation. We must find other ways of balancing the budget other than on the backs of taxpayers.
Okay. And then we'll go to Ward 4 and Danny Polomsky. 3, I'm sorry.
It is my main priority to demonstrate good stewardship of tax dollars. I would like to ensure that the funding from the tax increase replenishes the operating budget and that the working cash fund is sufficient to respond to unforeseen events such as flooding. We must reinstate suspended programs like sidewalk installation and build our police force back up to the 70 officers it had, up from 67. In the 3rd Ward, more police presence is needed at Crestview Park and along York near 290 exit, where drivers coming from Chicago have been found pulled over using drugs. It is a priority to immediately move forward with the repair of infrastructure that contributes to flooding and complete the assessment for long-term improvements. We must keep in mind the financial climate. State funding may be deficient or delayed, and many Elmhurst residents may need assistance. We also need to promote economic growth with projects like including office space in the Addison Avenue development so we can bring more daytime population here to fuel our tax income. The north end of York Road and also the area near South Street are positioned for redevelopment, potentially as TIF districts. Thank you.
Ward 3, Paul McLafferty.
I would take a similar approach to this situation as we did on the financial task force this past year. It was an eye-opening experience. The city was very cooperative and transparent, and as a team we worked with city officials to dig deep into the books and find ways to save money and prevent residents from paying higher taxes. The city of Elmhurst has one of the lowest city taxes in DuPage County, and our goal as a group was to keep taxes down while maintaining the high quality of service for the residents of Elmhurst. I would take these concerns, issues, ideas seriously and advocate for the residents of the 3rd Ward in Elmhurst. Thank you.
Okay. Our 4th question, we will begin with the 1st Ward and Diane Gutenkopf. The question is, what are your priorities to improve infrastructure in the city of Elmhurst, and how would they be financed?
I believe infrastructure maintenance and improvement are among the core responsibilities of local government. Elmhurst is in the early stages of analyzing our stormwater and sanitary sewer infrastructure. Spending our budget wisely and appropriately here is critical. It's my priority that we assess all our options and we choose a plan that gives us the most impact at the best price. We must be proactive and open-minded to alternatives that save taxpayers money. We must review all city services to ensure they're in line with resident priorities and seek savings where we can. We are in the business of providing a safe community with well-maintained, functioning infrastructure, but in this economy, we have to commit to doing more with less.
1st Ward, John Ranieri.
The infrastructure of a city is the backbone of it. It affects all of our daily lives. I believe it really, truly speaks to your quality of life. If you're driving down roads, dodging potholes, seeing water mains breaking, seeing your sidewalks cracked, it truly is reflective of, I think, how you feel about your city. So this is one I believe very strongly on. We need to maintain and rebuild as needed. It's an insurance policy against larger costs down the road. As painful as it may be to pay for these things now, I believe you need to take care of them when they have to. And I would rely on the engineers in the city to give the information on that, but this is one that I cannot be skimped on. Most of the financing, I think, would come from the capital fund, but I think I'd also research where state and federal grants may aid or assist. I think we've had a number of roads in the city area that's been repaved in the past year, and I think some of that has come from federal funds.
We'll move across then to the 6th Ward and Rachel Kern.
My top priority is fixing our infrastructure to prevent future flooding. The city is entering into a contract to pay close to $1 million to Christopher Burke Engineering Company to assess the problems and create a comprehensive plan. Although this is an important piece of the puzzle, 8 months have passed and the spring rain season is quickly approaching. It is the city's responsibility to make sure that this project is implemented as quickly and efficiently as possible. It is the duty of elected officials to ensure this project meets the standards and expectations of the taxpayers who are funding this project.
Okay, 6th Ward, Steve Morley.
Thank you. Our priorities regarding infrastructure are twofold. First and foremost, we need to maintain the infrastructure that we have and infrastructure that we utilize on a daily basis. This includes sidewalks and city streets. Every year in our capital budget, the city puts aside funds to maintain, repair, and fix sidewalks and city streets. That funding comes from our capital budget. Our highest priority, however, is our sanitation and stormwater system, which current parts of our system are over 150 years old. Up until 1950, the stormwater and sanitation system was actually combined. A lot of our decisions will depend on how long and how big these projects are. It's not something that we can fix overnight. It's not something that we will need to fund overnight. Typically, in funding long-term infrastructure programs like this, we will float long-term municipal bonds to share the cost over 20 to 25 years. In addition, I intend to seek state and federal government funding. Thank you.
I'm a Safe Routes to School representative, and in this year's grant application to the Illinois Department of Transportation, we could not request grant funding for sidewalk installation or repair because it would have required the city of Elmhurst to front the cost, which it is not in a position to do. It is a priority to reserve enough money to qualify for government grants for infrastructure improvements in next year's application. The improvements are particularly important to the residents of the 3rd Ward.
And we'll move then to the 4th Ward and Darlene Heslop.
A big priority here in the 4th Ward is finally implementing the improvements necessary to mitigate the flooding situation in previously identified areas. The city has been aware of this much-needed work for several years, and now is the time to do it. In order to fund these improvements, we need to actively seek monetary assistance from the private sector and other government entities at the county, state, and federal level by working with our elected officials in order to make this happen. We are fortunate to have the DuPage County Board Chairman and 2 state representatives living here in Elmhurst. We also have very active representation in Washington. We need to exhaust all of their funding possibilities before issuing bonds to pay for this type of work.
4th Ward, Steve Hipskind.
The overall infrastructure of Elmhurst is directly correlated to our home values. Therefore, we must view the entire city as one asset that must be maintained and improved. A great example of this are the floods of the past summer, something Elmhurst has seen before. We must improve our infrastructure so people of Elmhurst do not live in fear of losing their homes or possessions. These are very costly investments. And as in the past, we must work with the county, state, and federal governments to help with these costs. As we, Elmhurst, define these needs through the comprehensive plan, I plan on working with the state and county representatives to help defray this cost. 25 years ago in the 87 flood, we saw this, actually more than 25 years ago, we saw this, and the county actually spent over $90 million on flood mitigation that directly helped Elmhurst, and we will actually continue to work with the county to help defray that cost. Thank you.
4th Ward, Mark Engelwitz.
Thank you. I have 2 primary infrastructural improvement priorities. 1, flooding, and 2, electrical services. First, Elmhurst flooding problem needs to be resolved. I've read the application and the evaluation of the Jackson and Sailor lift stations provided by Christopher J. Burke Engineering, and the firm appears to be competent in resolving the problem, yet little action seems to have been taken place. The people in Ward 4 are concerned that not enough urgency is being placed on solving the flooding problem. It's important to take time to be informed, but there's a time for learning and there's a time for action. As Alderman, I will bring urgency to this issue and ensure that it remains a top priority in City Council. Second, the city's electrical infrastructure needs to be upgraded. The lengthy power outages of the Fourth Ward has become an annual occurrence. The best way to finance these projects would be through the sale of general obligation bonds. And looking at the city's debt position, I believe that we could responsibly take on the debt required to pay for the essential improvements. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll go to the last question that was prepared in advance by the League. And for this question, Ward 3 will start with Danny Polomsky. The question reads, in 2008, the city joined the Cool Cities Initiative and pledged to reduce Elmhurst carbon emissions significantly. In 2009, the city adopted a sustainability policy to help it reach its goals. Since that time, we have observed that some aldermen choose to ignore the policy in their decision-making. What specific steps do you propose to ensure that the city will honor its pledge to the community?
As a member of Cool Cities Coalition myself, I will make it a priority to continuously promote its values and the sustainability policy to other council members. I would ask for the reintroduction of goals to be made by Cool Cities representatives and the recommitment of the mayor and council. I would like to introduce the idea of a recycling enterprise fund. I propose we establish income-generating special recycling collection days. This revenue could cover the costs of broadening our regular recycling collection to include business districts. With the upcoming open house to offer input about qualities of candidates for city manager, we all can suggest that one needs to understand green practices and be an advocate for them. The city is making progress in green initiatives. The Public Building Energy Efficiency Improvement Project, supported by a grant, is currently underway. A funding option to directly help our residents for Project Green was referred to the Finance Committee for review. I will keep the momentum going in efforts like these.
Okay. Ward 3, Paul McLafferty.
In my line of work, sustainability and social responsibility are closely interrelated. They are also topics that are very important to me. I work with engineers, architects, and contractors on a daily basis that are designing and building new ways to enhance our quality of work. In my industry, I am committed to water conservation and sustainability. My company has memberships to the U.S. Greenbuild Council, Water Sense, and the Alliance of Water Efficiency. This would be an important subject that would guide me in my decision-making as Alderman of the 3rd Ward. Acting in an environmentally friendly manner will create new economic opportunities as well as help our city become greener. And a few specific steps I would take would be to recommunicate the pledge to both the City Council and our community, therefore holding aldermen more accountable to this pledge. I would also suggest creating guidelines to uphold and support the pledge, which could assist aldermen in their decision-making also.
Move on to Ward 1 and John Ranieri.
I think sometimes these initiatives sometimes get lost or maybe get moved down the list after they've been adopted. My suggestion would be to appoint someone, an individual, maybe even a committee, that could keep the council on point and make sure that the decisions they're making go back to this policy and the pledge that they had made. I know if anyone needs background, this basically has to do with the Cool Cities has to do with an initiative of making new and retrofitted buildings more energy efficient, which obviously saves money for everyone. So, we built the LEED certified won award, the fire station on York, right by Riley's, for better lack of term. But I think it's important that we continue to make this an initiative, but I think we need to make sure that there's someone pushing that process along and making sure the aldermen and council stay on point.
Ward 1, Diane Gutenkopf.
I supported the Cool Cities Initiative as an alderman, and I helped to author the sustainability policy during my tenure on the Development, Planning, and Zoning Committee. I make frequent and substantive recommendations to the City Council supporting environmental initiatives and am committed to the goals outlined in the policy. I propose that we take advantage of the PACE, Property Assessed Clean Energy Program, to encourage homeowners to use alternative energy technology, such as solar panels or wind turbines, without being hindered by the costs, which can range from $12,000 to $30,000 per home. I encourage the city to take advantage of many other environmental programs, including tools to manage stormwater runoff, such as rain gardens, which absorb 30 to 40 times more runoff than a standard lawn. In addition, I support development that makes Elmhurst more pedestrian and bicycle friendly because cutting automobile usage cuts carbon emissions. I also believe in practicing what I preach. I drive a hybrid car and I commute to my Wheaton job by bicycle and public transit whenever possible.
Moving on then to Ward 4 and Steve Hipskind.
I feel that Elmhurst must be a leader in sustainability. We have significantly reduced our carbon footprint over the past 20 years. We must continue to make strides for the future. We must look at all green technologies and weigh them in our decision-making process. As in question number 1, what is our vision for 20 years? I want a more sustainable environment for my children and the children of Elmhurst. An example of this is our view of building the fire station number 2 on York Road by Smalley Pool, which is LEED certified. I will continue to advocate and support green technologies. Thank you.
Ward 4, Mark Engelwitz.
Thank you. Going green should not be seen as a burden, but as an opportunity to improve our city and to allow our children to inherit a beautiful community and eliminate unnecessary costs brought on by inefficiencies. As Alderman, I will actively work to identify and implement initiatives that will have a positive environmental and financial impact on the city of Elmhurst. Take lighting, for instance. I plan to propose that we move to upgrade the city's street lamps to high-efficiency LEDs. Such an upgrade will reduce street lamp electricity consumption by more than 60% and saves the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in electricity and maintenance costs each year. As Alderman, I will work to partner with ComEd in promoting its Smart Ideas programs. Through these programs, ComEd provides financial assistance to both homeowners and businesses to make efficiency upgrades to their major electrical consumables, such as lighting, appliances, and equipment. Thank you.
Ward 4, Darlene Heslop.
I took the Elmhurst Cool Cities Pledge and encourage my fellow candidates and our elected officials to do the same. I see 2 issues where the City Council needs to commit in order to honor this pledge. The first is tree planting, which has been cut from past budgets, yet is an essential part of this policy. Trees fight soil erosion, conserve rainwater, and reduce water runoff, which is a natural way to assist with our flood mitigation. I would definitely work toward keeping tree planting as part of the budget. The second is the need to protect our water supply from pollution. Everything that is collected by storm drains is untreated and eventually ends up in our streams and rivers. Going forward, the option of simply opening up the floodgates and allowing for excess stormwater to flow freely into Salt and Addison Creeks is not a realistic option for flood control. We need to look at alternatives that are more environmentally safe, including the possibility of pre-treatment of stormwater.
Ward 6, Steve Morley.
Thank you. To ensure the city will honor its pledge to the community, there's a couple things we need to do, and that includes education and application. From our own policy, the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. We need to become more familiar with that. Sustainability is not a formula. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. Sustainability is a thought process. It's a mindset. It needs to be part of our thought process in the decisions that we make. I supported and voted for Elmhurst to become a member of the Cool Cities Coalition. I also support our sustainability policy. Some recent successes, as recent as 2008, include the LEED certification of our new firehouse, reduction in the city's use of water, reduction in the city's staff use of paper in copying and printing, formulation of a bike task force, for which I co-wrote the recommendation through committee, in addition to improvements in our wastewater plants. Thank you.
Ward 6, Rachel Kern.
As a member of Environment Illinois, I pledge to follow Elmhurst sustainability policies. In order for Elmhurst to reach its goals, we need to have community awareness. We need to make sure the city of Elmhurst is aware of the Cool Cities initiatives, both business and residents, and educate them on things they can do in order to help the city. All new City Council members and staff should receive a copy of the policy the city has adopted. If elected, I will have a Facebook page where I will provide links to green initiatives and sustainability policies, and I will work with Cool Cities to promote these initiatives.
We are going to take a short break and be back in here at 3 o'clock for the school board, so if you're interested in that, please come back. And let's have a big round of Before we came in, I met with the candidates briefly, and we discussed the order in which they will make their presentations. I will call on each one, and during the course of the afternoon, the order in which they will speak is going to vary. So I try to make sure I don't make too many mistakes and get everybody in. If I make a mistake, they're really good about telling me. So we might as well get started right away with our opening statements, and our first speaker will be Robert Robertson.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst for hosting this event. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of a forum that encourages community participation in government and to increase understanding of major public policy issues, so thank you very much. My name is Bob Robertson. I'm running for school board because I'm concerned about the direction the school district is going. I want to use my vision for the district's future and my passion for the community to restore our school district to top-tier status for our children and our community. To do this, we need to restore the mutual trust and respect amongst all our stakeholders, live within our means, and assume accountability for all of our decisions. I'm personally invested in District 205. I grew up in these neighborhoods, and I attended these very schools. My life serves as an example of what this area and these schools can produce, and I would like to help our children achieve the goals just as I did. At age 50, I'm a responsible, tax-paying member of the community. My wife, Gail, has been a nurse at Elmhurst Hospital for nearly 20 years, and I have twin boys in 6th grade at Sandburg Junior High. Since graduation, I've learned a lot that they didn't teach us in school. In particular, my experience has shown me that the elected and appointed officials have lost control of a growing and complex administration. I'm not part of a political establishment with agendas to promote or interests to protect. I just want to apply these principles of sound education and good government that I learned in these classrooms. If granted the privilege to serve on the board, I will be your advocate to investigate in person how operations are run and how decisions are justified. I'm going to walk to school, eat the cafeteria food, sit in class with your children. I share your concerns and your frustrations, and I am passionate about our schools and our community. Thank you.
Our second speaker will be Chris Bloom.
Good afternoon. Like Bob, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting the forum together and for everyone for coming this afternoon. I'm Chris Bloom. I'm running for a position on the Elmhurst District 205 School Board because I believe together we can raise the bar, and it's time to raise the bar. We can make District 205 one of the best districts in the country. I believe a solid, well-rounded education is the most important thing we can provide our children to ensure they are equipped with the foundational skills necessary to achieve excellence in whatever field they choose to pursue in an increasingly competitive world. We live in challenging economic times. Budgets are strained in both private and public sector, and property values are a concern. Managing finances in this environment requires experience, expertise, and creativity. We face a time of change in our district. We will have new leaders in key administrative positions, and 3 board members are retiring. This environment requires level-headed, professional leadership and also presents an opportunity to raise the bar by focusing on the ABCs: academic excellence, budget responsibly, and communication, trust, and community. We have an opportunity to enhance the professionalism of the board, administration, and our schools, as well as rebuild the trust with our community, including our key customers, the parents, and the children of District 205. I have experience in growing organizations and managing change in challenging environments, both as a board member and working in business operations. Throughout my career, I have used my financial and management expertise to help organizations set strategic direction and build, grow, and manage the team necessary to deliver on these goals. I believe this perspective can be a valuable insight or asset to District 205 board and community. My wife, Nancy Klatt, is a lifelong Elmhurst resident, and we have owned a home in the community for over 15 years. Our 4 children started in kindergarten now at all levels of District 205 schools. I've experienced the progression from kindergarten through high school in the district, which gives me insight into the strengths and weaknesses of the educational experience in District 205, as well as a vested interest in the success of our district and excellence in our children's education. Working together, I believe we can make District 205 one of the top districts in the nation.
John McDonough.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm John McDonough. I'm running for school board. My wife Jill and I have 4 children in the Elmhurst schools, 2 at York, 2 at Sandburg. I've worked with many of you in the room here today. Over the years, we may have worked together on the 2006 referendum or the Field School Principal Review Interview Committee, or when I was PTA school board rep. Some of you know that I'm also an attorney with over 25 years' experience, real estate, construction, financing, most of it on major municipal projects, such as Millennium Park. These complex multi-year projects mean that I have to work collaboratively with professionals across many different fields. I believe that these skills have prepared me to take a seat and become a constructive member of a diverse school board team. Just in the past few months, I've talked with literally hundreds of parents, teachers, community leaders. Elmhurst is the home to accomplished educators and passionate citizen contributors. When we bring together this town's pool of rich talents, we get a healthy debate and we get better results. In the 2006 referendum, citizens' efforts defined our needs, determined solutions, and we worked tirelessly for passage. The results were that the voters chose us by a 2-to-1 margin and supported the school's mission. That's unheard of in most suburbs. But in Elmhurst, when we come together, anything is possible. Such an amazing community, organized for unity, not for division, is essential if we're going to restore trust, overcome our challenges, and prepare our children to compete globally. My track record shows I'm an independent voice. I'm not afraid to speak up and ask the tough questions for due diligence. And I will bring a strong sense of what is right and fair for all our children. Again, I'm John McDonough, and I ask for your vote for school board.
Paul Garino.
My name is Paul Garino, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. With luck, this is the charm. This is the 3rd time I'm up here and the 3rd time I'm running. If at first you don't succeed, try again. I began my teaching career in 1964. Went overseas for 2 years with the Department of Defense and was department chairman at the largest overseas military school complex that the Department of Defense ran. I was responsible for a K-12 science curriculum, plus teaching full-time. Came back to the United States, had a big fight with my wife. I wanted Melrose Park, she wanted Elmhurst. And being the man in the family, I did what was right. I moved to Elmhurst. I began teaching in Elmhurst in 1969, before there was a District 205. And I retired in 2005. I have worked under every superintendent this district has ever had. Our first 3 superintendents were homegrown. I've got 1 minute. That's terrible. Our first 3 superintendents were homegrown, and everything was wonderful. There'd be no question about we have to go back to the great standard. We had it. We brought in 3 outsiders, even though we had qualified people here, and the district began, I don't want to use the word decline because my wife said be positive, we began a decline. We have to go back to what we had. I know what we had. I know what we're capable of doing. And we need somebody with educational experience on the board. Thank you.
Next up is Shannon Ebner.
Hello, my name is Shannon Hennessy Ebner. I'm an Elmhurst Public School graduate. My family moved to Elmhurst in 1969, and I attended Jackson Elementary, Bryan Middle School, and York High School. My family's roots in Elmhurst continue to grow, as my brother, sister, and I chose to raise our families at Elmhurst and send our children to District 205 schools. Between the 3 of us, we have 10 children in Elmhurst schools. As a parent, I want to ensure that the children of Elmhurst receive the best possible education. As a taxpayer, I want to ensure that education is provided in the most cost-effective manner. With the excellent educational foundation I gained in District 205, I earned a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from the University of Michigan and a Master of Science in Biomedical Engineering from Northwestern University. I have worked as an engineer and consultant for Procter & Gamble, Baxter Healthcare, and SC Johnson. I also launched a successful tutoring business providing academic support to students with a variety of learning challenges. My experience in engineering, science, and math, along with my hands-on work with students of all ages, would add valuable depth to the board. I will strive for cohesive leadership that clearly defines our district's goals and vision. We need a thoughtful voice with innovative solutions to our district's toughest problems. I will work diligently to be an inclusive board member that desires to create a positive culture and improve morale. We have the resources to be the best. Let's work together at all levels to ensure educating our children is our top priority. Our students come first.
Next, we'll hear from Karen Stufen.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Stufen. First off, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for providing this candidate forum, for us to be educated voters, and for us to model democracy in action at its best for our students. Secondly, I'd like to thank the City of Elmhurst for providing this, the City Council chambers. Earlier this week, I came up to the chambers, just to prepare myself for this, and I stopped and I reflected on the responsibilities of the position that I'm seeking, and I take it seriously. I have met with the mayor, the library board president and director, the park district, the Board of Education members, and the superintendent, all so that I can be prepared for the position. My take is that this is a unique opportunity that very few times in life do we get to prepare well for the job. And so I've reached out to all the city council members and legislators so that I can get a comprehensive view of today and what's on the horizon. My objective is to govern our children's education and do it well, and to be a good steward of the taxpayer dollars. Elmhurst is an engaged community. It's the reason why my husband and I chose to live here and to raise our children. My son, Andrew, has gone through the district, and my daughter's a junior at York. I'm about education, students, and financial health. I have successfully transformed organizations and programs in my professional life using quality, best practices, and benchmarking. I'd love the opportunity to use those skills here in District 205. Thank you.
Next up is Deb Conroy.
Thank you, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. Good afternoon. My name is Deborah Conroy. I'm finishing my first term as District 205 board member. In my first term, I have fought for transparency, communication, and collaboration. I take very seriously that I was elected by the community, and I put the best interest of the students and the community first in my decision-making process. We have implemented RTI and embraced professional learning communities to help all of our students reach their highest academic potential. We currently face incredibly difficult economic times. Local revenues are at all-time lows, and the state cannot pay the schools the money they owe. Budget cuts are the most difficult decisions I've had to make as a board member. As a board, we have made the tough decisions, keeping the cuts as far away from the students in the classroom as possible. We have received financial recognition and maintained one of the highest bond ratings a school district can obtain. While the accolades of financial recognition are great, in my 4 years as a board member, I will always be the proudest of the fact that I was part of a team that found a home for our transition students where they could thrive. I've been fortunate to be able to represent a district that educates children from early childhood through transition. With the support of an engaged community that values education, great teachers, and new leadership, District 205 is on the path to achieve excellence for all students. I was fortunate to have been able to educate and raise my children in Elmhurst, and my parents also raised and educated my family in Elmhurst. It is my hope to earn your vote and be able to continue to be part of a team that will move District 205 from good to great.
And now, Annette Franklin.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, City of Elmhurst, and the residents for inviting me to participate in this forum. My name is Annette Franklin. I'm a resident of Elmhurst for 23 plus years. I grew up in the city of Chicago on the near north side, walking distance from Wrigley Field, but I love both the Cubs and the Sox. I have my degree in education and natural sciences from the Northeastern Illinois University. After I graduated out of school, I worked in the retail marketing area for a while. Teachers were on strike when I was, or going on strike when I graduated. So I did, participate in some of the politics of teaching. I love to teach. I wanted to teach, but at that time, again, I chose to go into another field. As a resident of Elmhurst, over the last 4 years, I've been a substitute teacher in District 205 as well as District 48. And as a substitute, you learn all kinds of children. You learn the needs of children from kindergarten through high school. I have substituted at York High School. I have a daughter that graduated from York High School. I currently have a grandson that goes to Conrad Fisher. But as a substitute, again, I got the opportunity to talk to kids, parents, some parents, teachers, and substitutes. And when I found out that there would be they're running for a board member to help work with the, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. When I found out there was an opportunity for a board member's position to work with the District 205, I thought about all the things that I heard from the others and wanted to participate as a member.
Okay. Now, before this forum, the League of Women Voters wrote up some questions on some issues that we think are pertinent and things that we would want to know about possible candidates. And we sent them out to the candidates in advance, so they've had time to prepare their responses. And so we have 5 of them. They're printed in your program, and I will read them aloud each time we ask them, but everyone will have 1 minute to reply. Paul Garino will be the first to answer the first question, and it reads thusly. What is your vision for the future of Elmhurst Community Unit School District 205 in 20 years? What specific action will you take to realize this goal?
Thank you. I submitted my answers to the League of Women Voters already, so rather than speaking off the cuff, I'll actually read, which is something I find very hard to do. I hope that this election starts to bring a needed healing between the community and the Board of Education. The concept of a unit district will be a reality if we really unite and work together rather than continue to see ourselves as the unification of Old District 3 and Old District 46. We have to bury the past. If this happens, we will have a district that will be limited only by the amount of desire we have to excel. The only way this will happen is if our elected members meet with the community on a regular basis and listen to their concerns. I plan to continue to talk to the people I meet in town as I do business and listen to their concerns. I also want to have regular meetings with the various community groups and listen to their concerns. The Board of Education members need to hear in an open meeting, free of administration filters, the problems that the taxpayers feel are being ignored by the administration. I understand that these meetings are discouraged and frowned upon by the official school board handbook.
Okay. All right, next up is John McDonough.
My vision is to recognize one of the great districts of the state, if not the nation, and to be recognized by the people of Elmhurst as responsive in meeting the needs of all families in the district. My vision includes being staffed with an empowered team of high-quality teachers who stay with the district because they're supported and valued. And our schools will be filled with thriving students who are proud of their schools. And what actions would I take? Take a plan for the long-term financial security of our schools by maintaining adequate fund balances so we don't have to borrow money. Regularly update the strategic plan with implementation strategies to ensure that we meet our goals for academic excellence, and at the same time, we don't work against our best ideas in getting there. And I would engage regular and consistent dialogue with the public to measure whether we're meeting the needs of families but also with our teachers and staff through professional learning communities to prepare our children to compete globally.
Next is Shannon Ebner.
My vision for District 205 is to have a highly collaborative culture that provides students with the best possible education and inspires a strong sense of morale at all levels. Once inside the classroom, the most important aspect of our children's education is having a highly effective teacher. And teachers need a positive culture to do their best work. A great teacher can help any student overcome obstacles. Let's make sure our teachers are supported and all schools work to retain the best teachers. We need to set high expectations and challenge every student. I will work towards bridging the gap between middle school and high school. Professional learning communities must be further developed. If we champion increased student achievement as the primary goal and move forward with cooperation and teamwork, our district can become one of the best districts in the nation.
Deb Conroy.
We fundamentally have what we need to build on to be the best. We have an engaged community that values education, and we have great teachers who love what they do. In the next several months, we will put in place the players we need to restore the trust and bring the positive morale back to our district. I believe that District 205 can be a national leader in education. From early childhood through our transition program, I want all students to reach their highest potential, leaving our district with the education and the confidence to be successful in their chosen path. We will learn to live with less financially in the months and the years to come. We will demand that the mismanagement of resources of one generation does not hurt the future academic success of our students. We will achieve this with great teachers, strong leadership, and a board of 7 who can have intelligent conversation, can agree to disagree, and move forward with the decisions that are student-centered and move the educational process forward in District 205.
Next up is Karen Stufen.
My vision for District 205 is that we are the standard by which other districts are measured. My motto is, be the best you can be in everything that you do. I live this way, and I actually provide the opportunities for my children so that they can embrace life, be curious about the world, engaged in what they do, and love the learning journey. This can be our district motto as well. Having other districts look to us to replicate our methods, our practices, and our teaching approach. Other districts would come to us to learn how we achieve our high performance, produce academic achievers, and manage sound financial education. As a Board of Education leader, I will provide the oversight to ensure these are our priorities. I will have an open mind and engage in dialogue with all constituents to achieve this success and this vision. We can do it now.
Annette Franklin.
My vision for Elmhurst School District 205 is to get better. We have a good standard. We're setting good standards now, and just like any other teacher, student, or parents of students, we want our students to be better. If they are working at a B level, raise it to an A. Raise our standards just raise our standards. Sorry.
Bob Robertson.
My vision is to be the school district that everybody wants to be part of. In order to achieve this, we need to have property values that compel prospective homebuyers to consider our community a premium value. We need a district that attracts, retains, and rewards high-performing teachers, and to be a district that offers programs to serve the needs of each and every student. To do that, we'll also have to promote and maintain a culture of continuous improvement, challenging traditional ways of thinking. We need to consistently assess and refine our curriculum to meet the changing needs of our students. Our communication channels have been fractured and need to be redesigned to reach the diverse group of stakeholders that we have. To attain our 20-year vision, we need to create a strategic roadmap with a 3 to 5 year horizon with specific and measurable milestones and checkpoints. My experience as a management consultant will enable me to work effectively with the school board, administration, and community to achieve our shared vision.
And Chris Bloom.
District 205 can be one of the top districts in the country, and I believe we can get there in less than 20 years. Success in pursuing this goal is measured in multiple dimensions. It means our graduates are sought after by the top universities in the country and the world. It means our students have a reputation among employers for being well-prepared problem solvers with superior skills. It means a home in Elmhurst is in demand as families want to move to our community to have access to some of the best schools in the country. To achieve our goal, we need to focus on the ABCs. Academic excellence. We must raise the bar with respect to ensuring our children achieve their full potential. This means attracting, retaining, and developing the best teachers and holding them accountable for results, creating a professional culture of collaboration focused on student learning, and ensuring the curriculum is integrated from kindergarten through 12th grade. B, budget responsibly. We must raise the bar with respect to how we manage our financial resources. This means ensuring spending is aligned with priorities, living within our means, and getting maximum value out of every dollar spent, in addition to increasing the coordination between the district and various community groups to ensure priorities are funded and every student has access to opportunities.
Time. Okay. The second question that we sent to candidates will be answered first by Karen Stufen. And the question is, what outside resources will you draw from to stay current with state and federal legislation and regulations that pertain to your office?
Thank you. It's important to build relationships with key stakeholders and partner. I'm already reaching out to the state representatives and superintendent of schools, Dr. Darlene Rusity. Forming these working relationships and opening lines of communication with legislators is key. I'm going to leverage LEND, the Regional Office of Education. I've already spoken to the District 205 representative so that I could gain the knowledge of what's going on currently as well as what's upcoming legislation. I've followed education environment across Illinois and nationwide all of my adult life. It's a passion of mine. It's my hobby. I believe a strong education opens opportunities for students to create a successful life. So I will reach out and partner and utilize the technology so that I can be apprised of what's going on as well as face-to-face.
Next is Annette Franklin.
What outside resources? Basically, I feel that we should look to our government for some of the resources that were initially regulated for education. Talking to teachers and parents, and as well as substitutes as well. You know, there are questions asked. Where's the money? We need, where's the money that's needed for certain things? We have to look back at older allocations that were scheduled for education and find out where they are and how we can use them.
Chris Bloom.
It is important for board members to stay informed of current state and federal legislation and regulations. Fortunately, there is a wealth of information available from numerous sources, including the Illinois Association of School Boards, to name one. In addition, the experts on the administrative staff of District 205 are focused on staying up to date on how current legal and regulatory requirements impact their area of responsibility. The board must consult and collaborate with the administration to ensure the district is abreast of and in compliance with all legal and regulatory requirements.
John McDonough.
I'm confident that the board's attorney, assisted by the superintendent and the staff, will provide guidance on applicable statutory and regulatory provisions needed for the board to do its work. I would consult with publication websites by national and state school board associations and other organizations to independently supplement what the board's attorney provides. Our job as board members is to set educational and financial policy within the parameters provided to us by the legal professionals, while at the same time asking the necessary questions for due diligence. In order for us to arrive at our best possible outcomes, we must consider these roles and we must follow that approach.
Bob Robertson.
Topping my list would be the League of Women Voters website to get information from.
That's 1,000 votes.
Also, the Illinois Association of School Boards, the school law pages provide some good material. we're a member of that. The Large Unit School Districts Association, we're members of that. The U.S. DOE would also be helpful. We also have in-house legal counsel that provides a number of, as things change that impact the district. And LEND, Leadership in Neurodevelopment and Related Disabilities, we're also a member of that. As a management consultant, I provide recommendations to address compliance issues, financial and government issues to insurance executives every day. To do that, I need to rely on research that I do, but I'm also very comfortable rolling up my sleeves to do that and also listening to people that provide information to me. I understand how important data can be to make informed decisions, and it's critical achieving our shared vision for the district.
Deb Conroy.
As a current board member, I can tell you that we have many resources in which to stay current with legislation. We belong to both LEND and LUDA. Malia Smith, our Director of Communications, does a great job of sending board members daily links to all current outlets. I do believe that this is an area where our district and others need to start investing more time. Our state and federal legislators are out of touch with the very real challenges our schools are facing. They demand results, yet continue to deprive us of the resources to support the process.
Shannon Ebner.
I will use several avenues to stay current with state and federal regulation and legislation. First, we have an excellent Director of Communications, Malia Smith, who provides local, state, and national educational information to the school board. Second, the Legislative Education Network of DuPage County is a group that represents our school district and monitors state legislative activities related to education. A third resource is the Illinois Association of School Boards, which provides government relation programs such as organizing events for local school boards to visit the state capitol. Another resource is the Large Unit District Association, which is a voice for large unit districts at the State Board of Education. Lastly, the U.S. Department of Education provides excellent resources that detail federal initiatives.
Paul Garino.
The first resource person that I contact when I have a question is the Regional Superintendent of Education, Darlene Ruschetti, who went to Northeastern Illinois University, as did I many years ago. Then I ask my 17 blood and by marriage relatives who are teachers, note the word teachers, not educators. Then I contact my lawyer relatives, one of whom I haven't bothered lately, but she was Bernardo Di Simone's attorney in the county office. As a retired member of the Chicago Teachers Union and the American Federation of Teachers, I read their publications and emails. They'll deal with current legislation. My children share with me the Illinois Education Association materials. In addition, I stay in contact with the hundreds of teachers who have taken part in my geology workshops that are offered during the summer. Thank you.
The third question, the first person to answer will be Deb Conroy. And the question is, District 205 currently falls below the state average instruction time for core curriculum. What is your recommendation to meet or exceed the state standard?
Increasing our core curriculum minutes is vital to our students' ability to compete on a global level. An increase in minutes is tied directly to our teacher contract. Once we restore trust and open lines of communications to our district, teachers, administrators, and board members will be able to sit at the table together and collaboratively map out the details that will allow us to meet, if not exceed, core curriculum minutes, enabling our students to reach their highest academic potential.
Shannon Ebner.
My goal is to maximize our core curriculum minutes without sacrificing other enrichment programs. There are 330 minutes in the elementary school day, nearly all of which are consumed by reading, math, science, social science, PE, computer, library, art, music, and world language. Because all of these subjects are important and culture a well-rounded student, we should incorporate core minutes into the curriculums of the enrichment programs. For example, a nonfiction science book read during library time could be included with the science minutes. The district needs to look at how minutes are being added and determine if we are including all appropriate minutes. The efficiency of each minute is another aspect to consider. 20 minutes of instruction from a highly effective teacher can be more beneficial than 30 minutes from a less effective teacher. We need to increase minutes to at least the state average and ensure minutes are added appropriately and used wisely.
Annette Franklin.
Thank you. I feel that there should be a collective meeting of teachers, parents, substitute teachers as well, to sit down and discuss the changes that have caused our district to go below standards or to decrease in core curriculum. We may need to get back to things like the basics, your reading, writing, and arithmetic, and just know when is a good time to make certain cuts if necessary, just to work together. I'm sorry.
Karen Stufen.
Thanks. District 205 is about educating students so that they can be successful in a global world. A saying my children often hear is practice like you play. If the concept is if you don't practice with the mindset of a competitive game, then you can't expect your mind and your body to perform at that level at will. It needs practice. We need to adopt this mindset as we plan the school year, conduct our work each day, and inspire and lead our district. We need to have purpose in everything we do, in our planning, delivery, and our metrics. Studies show that instruction, classroom time, is directly related to student achievement. We need to effectively use every paid school day to educate our students and adopt the practice of planning and scheduling the school calendar around how we get the most education value out of every day that we pay. We need to investigate instruction time best practices of other districts.
Paul Garino.
The biggest problem that we face is unfunded state mandates. For example, we are supposed to teach coal is an alternative energy resource. We have no money for it. We're given no money. And then we're told to put it into the curriculum somewhere. What we have to do is have the teacher sit down with the state goals, take a look at the state goals, and go through the curriculum, which is overloaded, and get rid of all the fluff, go back to those things which the state requires, and then those things that teachers know, children have to know, which often has nothing to do with the state, in order to succeed in life. We have to have basic reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we have to have the teachers allowed to make the decisions in their building for their students, because we have many different schools. We are not one school with many campuses. We are many different schools. Every school is different, and every school has its own individual needs.
Bob Robertson.
Our core curriculum instruction time may fall below state average, but our results are better than average. However, we really shouldn't be comfortable with better than average. We should strive for setting a new standard. I recommend exceeding the standard as a strategic goal, but we need to get in front of the issue that we're looking at and possibly look at other school districts that might have had the same issues and see what they've done to deal with this issue. We need to develop alternatives that we can bring to the public and discuss with them. The issue impacts the entire community, not just teachers, students, and administrators. Some possible alternatives might be longer school days or a school year. I know not very popular. Make some courses electives in order to add additional core curriculum minutes. Most of all, the process needs to be collaborative, transparent, and inclusive of all stakeholders. I want to use my team building and collaboration skills to bring the issue to the constituents and not develop alternatives in a vacuum.
Chris Bloom.
I believe that a solid foundation in the core subjects is the cornerstone of a comprehensive education. From a practical standpoint, if we measure progress towards this objective by how much time a subject is taught, we have to either reduce or eliminate time spent teaching other subjects, for example, art, music, foreign language, industrial arts, or lengthen the school day. Alternatively, I believe we should measure progress by what a student learns. Research shows that one of the most important factors in student learning is having a highly effective teacher in the classroom. We need to attract, retain, and develop great teachers. In addition, we need to ensure subjects in the core curriculum are integrated and progressive, with each grade building on the prior year's learning and preparing a strong foundation for the next.
And John McDonough.
I'm not sure the statewide average is a good comparison for our school district. I think we should make a comparison with those school districts that we regularly compare ourselves to for things like student achievement and finance. And if there's a deficiency there, then I would look to the administration to recommend a strategy, but a strategy that fits in with our overall strategy for raising achievement in the schools. Adjusting time for core curriculum is expensive, and it may not be wise to spend that money across the board on all students, including those who are already exceeding state standards and those who are well on their way to being college ready. This broad approach might mean sacrificing those students' ability to take valuable and enriching programs. And that's why I look for the administration to provide the board with a comprehensive evaluation and a full recommendation on this issue.
Okay. Our fourth question, the first person to answer will be Shannon Ebner. And the question reads, with limited funding resources available, what are your budgetary priorities?
I want to ensure that every tax dollar spent has a positive impact on student learning. Student achievement is the top budgetary priority. We need to make the smartest choices with tax dollars to improve the quality of education, which will improve the reputation of Elmhurst schools. This in turn can increase property values, which benefits the entire community and makes Elmhurst one of the best places to live. Public dollars belong where they make the biggest difference, on effective instructional programs. Our schools need smart spending and must eliminate ineffective practices. Tax dollars should go toward programs that help our children ensure their lifelong success and produce results.
Next is Deb Conroy.
My priority is, as it always has been, put students first. Keep all cuts as far away from the education of our children in the classroom as possible. I believe we need to engage more stakeholders in a continuing process of evaluating our programs that will allow us more out-of-the-box thinking and open lines of communication. The priority in cutting the budget is to operate as leanly as possible without cutting programs or affecting the integrity of the process. In some cases, committees may be able to identify more than a 10% savings, while others may desperately need a 10% increase in order to be most effective.
Paul Garino.
When I looked at this question, I looked at it as a first place, second place, third place. What has to have the money, what has to have the money secondly, and then what has to have the money thirdly. It's a very short answer. That's why I'm talking a little bit now. Basic core curriculum has to be the first thing, because that affects the most number of students. The second thing is special education. And then the third thing are after-school activities. The core curriculum and special education have to be sacrosanct. Anything other than that, we have to look upon as being sacrificed. Thank you.
Bob Robertson.
Our objective needs to be preparing our children to compete in the world economy. To that end, we need to provide them with the tools to prepare for college or vocation. We need to balance the need for infrastructure improvements with the need to ensure that all students learn. We must reward high-performing teachers and evaluate options for assisting those not producing desired results. On the whole, we have great teachers and terrific resources, but we need to look at each transaction and ask ourselves, does this add value to our district? The newly adopted EPERT process provides a foundation for future program evaluation. As we move forward, we should provide more time for analysis and student and community input. In order for the process to be effective for budgetary decisions, we need to have an assessment process for both programs and teachers. I want to work diligently with the new board, the teachers, and the administration to carve out a process that's fair to everyone.
Annette Franklin.
My budgetary priorities is, first and foremost, the student. Starting with the student as the curriculum and expanding outside of that circle, whereas the student, the teacher, the classroom, the school, the community, and the district. Funding and resources should, again, start at the center, at the nucleus where it counts, and then expand outwards. Thank you.
Chris Bloom.
We must ensure spending is aligned with district priorities in our strategic plan. The district is spending hard-earned taxpayer dollars, 70% of which come from taxpayers that don't have children in District 205 schools. We must communicate with the community as we determine overall tax levels, allocate scarce resources in support of priorities, and make the tough choices required in such an environment. The EPRIT process is a useful step in this direction, and we need to build on these initial efforts. We must live within our means, which is even more of a challenge in the current economic climate. This frequently requires creative solutions to strained budgets, doing more with less. Individuals and businesses in the private sector are constantly faced with this reality. The district must approach financial management with the same discipline. Stronger communication and coordination between the district and various community groups can ensure priorities are funded and every student has access to opportunities regardless of income level. Our community is fortunate to have significant financial resources and proactive, passionate citizens. Historically, we have demonstrated a strong willingness to support and fund the things we believe in. The district must take a lead in harnessing and focusing this energy in support of our common goals.
John McDonough.
First, I would advocate for keeping fund balances adequately funded to avoid borrowing. Second, and perhaps more importantly, I would align budget priorities with the core curricular components that are integral to our district's goals for student achievement and individual student growth. At the same time, we need to recognize that the students' participation in enriching extracurricular activities has a demonstrated correlation to their achievement and growth. I support investment in technology as a means of improving student performance in the core curriculum, as well as a means of preparing our students to compete globally. As a board member, I would support only those budgetary actions that do not disproportionately affect one group of students over another. That's in keeping with our strategic plan, which provides that we shall have equitable educational opportunities for all students in our district.
Karen Stufen.
We need to institute sound financial accountability that is linked to student achievement. This can be accomplished by enforcing financial ownership of each program and with those who manage those programs. We need to have them take ownership of how they're running their programs, the value they produce, and how well they're managing their budget. It's their responsibility to fine-tune their organization and get the most performance and economic value out of it. They need to understand what our students achieve from their programs, and that's the measuring stick. They need to track results, make progress, increase performance, and prioritize based on the needs and finances. A top priority for the Board of Education leadership team is to open dialogue around effective program and budget management, linkage of all programs to student achievement, and enforce financial ownership. We need to make good use of every tax dollar spent on education.
Chris Bloom will answer our last question from the League, and that reads, what do you propose be done with the underutilized space on the second floor of the administration building at 162 South York Street?
I believe that this question should be considered in the context of the long-term facilities plan for District 205. We need to make sure we are getting the most value out of every dollar the district spends and ensure we are maximizing the utilization of the significant investment we have made in our facilities. Growth in the district over the next several years will likely continue to increase demand on our facilities and present opportunities to better utilize this space. In the near term, we should examine current programs which are outsourced or rent third-party space to the extent opportunities can be identified to provide the same services in-house in a more cost-effective manner.
Karen Stufen.
Let's be creative and produce quality solutions. Let's look at all the programs that we offer and see if they can utilize the space. Through partnering, we can determine if other organizations can use the space. The second floor can be used for instructional time as well as conference rooms. So let's find other units of government, inter-college agencies, nonprofits, and even educational partners, businesses that are in the education business, and let's see if they can share in our drive to provide education and excellence in education. Obtaining a long-term tenant and contract would be a sustainable revenue stream, and that should be a focus.
Bob Robertson.
There are several opportunities that we could consider. Hawthorne is landlocked with no options to expand. As the student population rises, we could move classes over to 162. We could consider moving suspended students that are at different places around the city and move them to a central location to eliminate the redundant oversight that we have to pay for. Off-campus activities could be evaluated as candidates to move to the additional space. And we could also work with the Park District to see if there's any opportunities there to share the space. I understand and agree that this building was paid for by the taxpayers and should be available free of charge. However, part of our due diligence should be devoted to evaluating options for turning some of that space into income-generating property. This is the type of out-of-the-box thinking I want to bring to the board as input to our collaborative evaluation process.
Annette Franklin.
I feel that space should be utilized for the purpose of education. Part of me is saying, why not to do any, not to be a little disrespectful to the previous members or organization responsible, but it should have been evaluated what was going to be done with that space in that in this particular time. What I'm saying is the previous administration should have did more evaluation to help us to realize what we can do or how we can profit or utilize that space. It should not have been, maybe it shouldn't have been sitting there. I may not know too much about it. Thank you.
John McDonough.
With the released EPERT recommendations, we see a need to maximize revenue wherever we can. Unfortunately, this space has limited utility, and therefore it has limited marketability. A lease will not make us much money. Since private leasing is not going to raise much money, then we should look to the Park District, the city, or some other governmental or community organization who could pay the district a reduced rent, but whose users would complement the current district use of the building. That way we don't need to spend much more money on a build-out. We need to be innovative. If there's an opportunity there, we need to pursue it. Our budgetary problems are well known.
Shannon Ebner.
First, I would assess the current uses of the second floor and determine the extent that the space is underutilized. Next, I would listen to parents, community members, and staff to get their input for uses of the space. Our community has valuable insight, especially because our student population is growing and some schools can benefit from extra space. Also, instead of outsourcing, we could offer tutoring and instructional services at our own building. It is also an ideal place for teacher collaboration and training due to its central location. This can help reach our goal of having every student being taught by an outstanding teacher. We can solicit programs outside of our district, such as the mayor's address to the city. Another use could be increasing the frequency of gatherings and forums in order to continually strive to understand the community's aspirations for its school system.
Paul Garino.
This property was bought with the specific promise that it would be used to house the transitional students. There is no reason we cannot work with the city to rezone or do whatever else is necessary so these students can be brought and housed on the first floor. We can move the administration to the second floor. I'm sure we can add fire exits or bathrooms to whatever floors so that we could meet any code requirements. There is no reason for us to continue to pay rent on a property north of North Avenue. We are putting good money down the drain as long as we continue to pay rent. We can also end the practice of every new superintendent getting to completely remodel their office. Thank you.
Deb Conroy.
The building at 162 York Road was purchased to allow needed space for Madison, our early childhood program, and to house the transition program. The transition program was not placed at 162. After not accepting the placement of our students on the second floor of the building, I discovered that legally we could not place any instruction in a new acquisition without a referendum. I fought with many concerned parents and staff to find the proper place for our transition students. Since then, I have placed a referendum on the 2010 ballot, which passed by over 80%, that allows instruction in the building. I continue to fight for a solution to the empty space. Most recently, I was told it is being utilized, but we are not getting revenue because no one wants to rent the space due to lack of parking. This journey has led me to believe that it is in the best interest of our community to put the building back on the tax rolls. I would like to see us work collaboratively toward an intergovernmental space. This would place both 162 and City Hall back on our tax rolls. I would be happy to hold meetings in any of our district gymnasiums.
And let's have a big round of applause for the candidates.
Visit Elmhurst.org to explore the new City of Elmhurst website. Find out the latest Elmhurst news, pay utility bills and parking tickets, report concerns, and much more. Elmhurst.org is an ideal way to discover what Elmhurst offers your business, your family, your life.